Do I have the pleasure of speaking to Mr. Hercule Poirot?
The pleasure, possibly, Mr. Ratchet. The intention, certainly. You asked me for a light. I offered you one, and you have not used it. One can't deduce that without acute mental exhaustion.
When Murder on the Orient Express premiered in 1974, the world saw a new kind of Hercule Poirot. Extravagant, eccentric, theatrical, and instantly unforgettable. Albert Finney was just 38, already a star of stage and screen, and suddenly, under that waxed moustache, he became one of cinema's most fascinating detectives. That film was a hit, critics loved it, Finney even received an Oscar nomination, and yet he never returned to play Poirot again. Why? This is the fascinating story of Albert Finney, the reluctant Poirot.
Let me ask about your early life, if you don't mind. You're not.
I am still having it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Albert Finney was born in 1936 in Salford, a working-class area of Manchester, England, the son of a bookmaker. Unlike many of his later aristocratic characters, young Albert grew up in a humble home where money was tight, but imagination was free.
Born in England.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the north of England, in an industrial town.
Yeah.
Do you remember a film called A Taste of Honey years ago?
I remember the
name.
name,
Well, that was
yes.
filmed in my city. I mean, which it was grew in the Industrial Revolution, very grey and grimy. People had lots of heart and spirit, and you had to live there. But that's where I came from.
Yeah.
After the primary school, he joined the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, RADA, where he was spotted almost immediately as a rising talent. His classmates included Peter O'Toole and Alan Bates, part of that post-war generation who would redefine British cinema in the 1960s. At 23, Finney joined the Royal Shakespeare Company under the legendary John Gielgud. And within a few years, his raw charisma and emotional intensity landed him in the heart of what critics call the British New Wave, films that finally spoke the language of ordinary people.
This fella got his hand caught in a press. He didn't look what he was doing. Of course, he's only got one eye. He lost the sight of the other one looking at telly day in and day out.
Finney's breakthrough came in 1960 with Saturday Night and Sunday Morning. He played Arthur Seaton, a working-class rebel who drinks, fights, and refuses to conform. The film was a sensation, a manifesto for the angry young man generation, and Finney's performance made him a star overnight. Handsome, unpredictable, and intense, he became the face of New Britain, less polished, more real. Only 2 years later came Tom Jones, a bawdy, chaotic period comedy that swept the Oscars, including Best Picture, and made Finney an international idol. More than that, it made him a rich man. With his contract, the actor was receiving 10% of the film's profits. But instead of capitalizing on his box office cash, he took a year off and went sailing in the Pacific.
Precisely what I needed.
All in all, he was nominated for an Oscar 5 times, received numerous Golden Globes, BAFTAs, and an Emmy Award, but never attended the glitzy ceremonies. Fame never seemed to be his goal. "I'm not particularly interested in stardom," he once said. "I don't crave being recognized. I just like doing the work."
No, I was at the premiere, and a lot of the stars were lined up to meet Her Majesty the Queen, and included in the lineup was Dame Agatha Christie. And I was placed next to her, as I was playing Poirot. And when I was introduced to Agatha Christie, she didn't know who the hell I was. And I think she thought I was some kind of trendy first night goer trying to sort of push his way in order to get his name in the paper, some rather grasping actor who wanted a picture of himself in the paper. She didn't know who I was at all.
You see, right from the start, Finney was never chasing the spotlight. He was chasing truth in acting. In other words, the actor refused to play by Hollywood's rules. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, while other British actors ran off to Hollywood, Finney returned to the theatre, performing Shakespeare and Chekhov. He turned down Lawrence of Arabia because he didn't want to sign a long-term studio contract. Can you imagine? A role that made Peter O'Toole immortal declined by Finney simply out of independence.
Independent
person.
Yes, I try to be. I mean, I do try to retain the reins of my life in my own hand. I mean, professionally, try and go in a direction that I'm drawn to go.
He rarely gave interviews, avoided self-promotion, and yes, didn't even attend the Academy Awards. That's how he worked. He loved the craft, but distrusted the circus around it. I don't tell tales. I always tell the truth.
I was offered 2 contracts with film companies as I was leaving drama school, and neither of them interested me at all because they got in the way of me discovering about myself. I didn't want that. I wanted to go my own way.
So how did this reluctant celebrity end up playing the most flamboyant detective in literary fiction?
You pay me the compliment of having read about me. I return the compliment by admitting that I have read about you.
In 1974, director Sidney Lumet began casting for Murder on the Orient Express. He needed someone strong enough to command a cast full of legends: Ingrid Bergman, Lauren Bacall, Sean Connery, and Finney, with his theatrical precision, was perfect. He built his Poirot almost like a disguise, with layers of padding, makeup, false mustaches, wigs and accents, and hours of makeup every morning so that he could completely vanish beneath the character.
Mrs. Hubbard, you have afforded me a great deal of help in this difficult case. Thank you, if I may so express it, for playing your part.
If you need me again, I'll be around.
As a result, Finney didn't have much time for his badly needed sleep. So a daily routine was established, where an ambulance arrived to pick up the sleeping actor at his house in his pajamas, trying not to wake him up. During the half-hour commute to the studio, the makeup artist would begin the rough work on his face. The rest of the fine detail work was completed at the studio on a still sleeping Finney.
Obviously, if you're doing a picture, doing a film and playing something like Poirot and you have a very complicated makeup, the first day's shooting is going to be in the final film, so you have to arrive at some decisions before you go into the studio.
When the cameras rolled, he was unrecognizable. A booming voice, fussy gestures, absolute control, a magnificent transformation. Critics were thrilled. The film was a triumph. It became one of the most successful British mysteries of the decade. Finney was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Actor. Even Agatha Christie herself, who was famously hard to please, called his portrayal magnificent. So, what went wrong? After Murder on the Orient Express, the producers wanted a sequel. But Finney, true to himself, said no. There are few versions of why. Some say he hated the hours of prosthetic makeup, that heavy padding and facial transformation. Indeed, Finney obviously loathed the process. But deeper than that, he had no desire to repeat himself. "Once I've done it, Finney reportedly said. I don't see the point of doing it again. He refused to let any single role define him, and obviously wasn't interested in becoming the Poirot man.
I have made enough money to satisfy both my needs and my caprices. I take only such cases now as interest me, and to be frank, my interest in your case is dwindling."
Moreover, it is known that Finney complained that it typecast him for a number of years. "People really do think I am 300 pounds with a French accent," he said. And that was him. Honest, stubborn, and fiercely independent. He'd already turned down long-running franchises, advertising deals, and even royal honors. Yes, Finney refused both a CBE and a knighthood, saying he didn't believe in actors being called Sir. It was a quiet protest against the establishment, very much in line with his roots. That tells you everything about him, doesn't it?
It is I who should be committed to a bed in a mental home. It is I who need a cue for being so slow to notice the tricks that were being played on me.
So, instead of filming another Christie mystery, Finney went back to the theater, then to diverse roles, from The Dresser to Erin Brockovich and Big Fish and Skyfall, and dozens of others, each role different, each time disappearing into the part, then moving on. He could have been the definitive Poirot of the 20th century. Instead, he chose to keep moving. Looking back now, perhaps that was exactly what made Finney so special. He never clung to the fame and was never trapped by one image. He could be a working-class rebel, a Shakespearean hero, a grotesque detective, or a kindly father figure. Each time he gave himself completely, then walked away without regret. He once said, "My ambition was never to be famous, just to be good." And that's exactly what he was. Brilliant, elusive, authentic. And maybe that's why his Poirot remains unique, precisely because it was fleeting. When we rewatch Murder on the Orient Express today, we can still feel that extraordinary mix of theater and mystery, precision and passion. We see not just a great mystery, we see an actor at the height of his craft. But the man behind the mustache had already moved on, off to find his next challenge, away from the spotlight, true to his own code.
Suddenly, the number 12 began to ring in my head like a great bell.
Albert Finney died in 2019, aged 82, after a long and remarkable career. He left behind no memoirs, no documentaries, no self-mythology or grand farewell, just an extraordinary body of work and a reminder that sometimes walking away is not failure, but freedom. So why did Albert Finney walk away from Poirot? Because he could. Because he never needed fame to prove his worth. And maybe that's the greatest mystery of all, how a man so allergic to stardom still became unforgettable. Thank you for joining me for this story about one of the cinema's most fascinating actors. If you liked this episode, you may also enjoy my video about David Suchet and his real life behind Poirot. See you soon. Bye!